smacking your kids should be illegal, according to the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. They're calling for ministers to close a loophole that allows parents in England and Northern Ireland to use physical force against kids if it can be justified as a reasonable punishment. They claim that their report found being smacked as a kid can lead to a cycle of violence. Well, that may be the case for kids who are beaten up and roundly abused by degenerate parents, but we all know that isn't the case for the majority of parents who smack their children. Let's not overreact here. We're not stupid. There's a huge difference between a gentle smack on the bottom or slap on the wrist compared to, I don't know, punching a child with full force. Huge difference. All I see these days when I look at the younger generations are a bunch of molly-coddled softies, a group of whining, oppressed brats who are told routinely by mummy and daddy, "You could be anything you want, dear. You're the best." And they don't have to work hard. They don't have to face adversity. They can't take criticism. They don't respect the rules. "You're feeling stressed? You're feeling angry, darling? Oh, you've probably got mental health issues, sweetie." I'm not suggesting that smacking should be the first resort, but a gentle smack to discipline your child is absolutely permitted, and the government should stay out of it. To suggest that all of us who were smacked, and all of our parents, all of our grandparents who were smacked and grew up to be normal, well-socialised citizens, actually have been mentally damaged is absolute tosh. And where does the government draw the line? If I'm going to play fight with my son, and I throw him in the air, and I do a wrestling move and slam him into the sofa, is that considered too aggressive? Should the government tell me to stop playing with my son? Again, I say those poor kids who are being raised by parents who are doing more than a gentle tap, bad parents, of course, those children should be protected. Protected by all of us, not just the government. But for the rest of us, leave us to parent our kids ourselves. Joining me now to discuss this is social commentator Keith Fraser and broadcaster Afia Hagan. Afia, I'll start with you. Obviously, your parents, both from Ghana, but you were raised in Scotland. I'm presuming you were given the odd little tap on the hand, the odd smack on the bottom when you were growing up, correct?
I actually wasn't. Not that I can remember.
Bad
Maybe
parenting,
my mum will
Afia.
tell you a
Terrible
different
parenting.
story. Well, no, I don't think so, because I think it's up to each parent how they decide they want to parent their children. Now, I have a daughter. I've never smacked her. I don't think I ever will have to. And I'm kind of the belief that it's not about instilling the fear of God into your children, right? But if they have enough respect for you, they know that you're not one of their little friends, they know that you are their parent, then you shouldn't need to smack them. You shouldn't need to. And I know, obviously, not all children are the same, and some children do need a firmer hand. As for that, I cannot disagree with that, definitely. But I think it's all about the parenting. We've discussed this before many times, JJ. It's about how you properly parent your children. Now, for me, I think I'm pretty lucky that my daughter's pretty good and I don't need to smack her. And I hope I never will. And I'm kind of one of these parents that I don't think smacking is necessary if you've instilled enough respect in your child that you don't need to do that. But I accept all children are not the same, and I accept that everybody has their parenting style. It's just not my parenting style.
Right, OK, fair dues. Keith Fraser in the studio with me. First of all, thank you for missing the first half of the Arsenal game tonight to be here with us. I much appreciate that.
You have to say that, JJ. My street cred is going right out the window now.
I appreciate it. Were you smacked as a kid? And I say smack, yes. I literally mean a little clip here and there.
Look, I was probably smacked on the bottom. I wouldn't say that I was traumatised by anything in particular. But I would say that my parents were very much old school. We live in a different society today. One of the things they say about the study is because it creates mental health issues and, of course, a violent person afterwards. Well, I've got to tell you something. From what I know, it seems that in my parents' era, that society was a lot less violent than it is today.
Correct.
Knife crime, gun crime, and et cetera, et cetera. So does a little smack really matter? Now, I've got to say, I am not an advocate of smacking. I don't believe, and if he's watching at home, my boy will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe I've ever smacked him in a way of telling him off. But I have studied psychoanalysis in the form of Eric Berne's transactional analysis. Not many people will have heard of this.
Oh, I know. I love this. This is in your book, Cojones.
It is.
Yeah. Which I've read. It's very good. But tell us about transactional analysis.
Yes, transactional analysis is an extension of Freudian psychoanalysis. And It's I can't go into huge detail now, there isn't time. But the bottom line is that if you want a certain behaviour, when the behaviour happens, you give that behaviour a stroke, or in layman's terms, an acknowledgement. Now, a stroke can be positive or negative, and what they say is that a smack or some kind of negative acknowledgement actually reinforces the behaviour. So, and they do say that by doing nothing or speaking in a very sort of calm and almost like a computerized type of voice will get you the effect that you want, i.e. by staying completely in a neutral fashion, the behaviour will go away. It's a bit like somebody who's desperate for attention. If you don't show them attention, then eventually they'll get the message. But if you stroke that attention, be that telling them off, i.e. a negative acknowledgement, you will end up getting the same repetitive kind of behaviour.
So, Afia, you were nodding just there with what Keith was saying, but the first part he said, very interesting. Look at the streets today. Look at knife crime, look at gangs, look at kids stealing bikes, stealing mobile phones. I would wager that a lot of those kids were not parented properly and didn't get a smack on the bottom and told off when they were doing bad things.
No, you're probably right about that. And yeah, we do live in a completely different society from 40 years ago where things are much more violent. But again, this is about parenting our children. Are we letting our children out on the streets at night to be involved in these kind of things? We should be parenting them better, knowing where they are, knowing what they're up to. And it's really interesting, that study, saying that perhaps if there's a bad behavior and you give them a stroke, as it were, and it reinforces that bad behavior and it's more likely to happen, that calm approach, which can be very difficult when a child is stressing you out, when they're being naughty as well, just to be very calm, is actually really insightful. Because if you're just super calm, they will calm down, their behavior will go away. I think that is a better way of doing things. But like I said, everybody has their parental style, and we've got so many more factors, in today's world, as well as, kids being more violent, perhaps knife crime, gun crime. We've also got social media to contend with. What are kids seeing in video games? What are they seeing online? But it's all about being more attentive. We all have jobs, we're all working. It's difficult to be there 24/7 for our children, but we do have to parent them in the best way possible. And we'd hope that by doing that, we negate these behaviours so you don't need to smack them in the first place.
But Afia, my issue with it is that I don't think having a little tap on the wrist or tap on the bottom is going to make my kid grow up to be an angry, violent person. And the government should not be interfering and telling me how to parent my kid how I see fit, if I'm not doing the child real harm, which I don't think we are. And then where do you draw the line? Because if you send your kid to the bedroom, for example, you say, right, you're grounded, you're going to stay in your bedroom for the next 2 hours, no TV, nothing's going to sit there. Well, then next you'll be having these lefties saying, that's like putting your child in solitary confinement. That's going to give them mental health issues too.
I don't think it's about being on the left or on the right. And there has been studies actually that I've read that say that putting your child like in a bedroom for 2 hours, saying, that's you're on a timeout, can be just as harmful. What I think this is about, and you made a point there about the government and about the government perhaps setting guidelines, outlawing what we can or cannot do when it comes to parenting. Look, there's a lot of that around at the moment. The smoking ban was a huge story yesterday, and it's all about, libertarians. Should we have the freedom to pick up bad habits, to smack our children, all that kind of stuff? It depends on what kind of society we think we live in. Is it about being liberal? But is it about being liberal with everything? I think, we're kind of getting into semantics here. Are we going to pick and choose what we're liberal about or not? Because if we're going to ban smoking, so people under the age of 15 will never be able to smoke, then yes, you are going to have to ban smacking as well and all these other things. Or if we're going to be completely liberal, then we let people start smoking if they want, we let people smack their children. We cannot pick and choose about what issues we're going to be liberal about. Either we're liberal about everything or we're liberal about nothing and we put rules in. Like I said, everybody has their parenting style and everybody has to pick that. Smacking's not mine. And I'm not saying that a tap on the wrist or a tap on the bum is going to make someone grow up to be a violent criminal. I don't think so. But you do have these exceptions where you do have kids, you know, rocking up to A&E that have had damage done to them by their parents that have been over enthusiastic with their smacking. And those children, I think, need to be protected.
Those kids need to be protected, absolutely. But then this law change will do nothing for them, because if parents are going to smack their kids to that extent, they're going to do this whether this law exists or not. But Keith, coming to you very quickly, how could a smacking ban actually be enforced? If you're going to, if I'm at home and I smack my kid on the bottom, what's he going to do?
Well, it would be ridiculous, wouldn't it, if a kid just phones 999 and says, my parents just smacked me. Listen, the government needs to get real on some proper issues rather than how to teach people to parent. At the end of the day, there are many people out there who shouldn't be parents, in my opinion. I see it out and about a lot and think, how the hell are they parents?
Yeah.
And there's some in the public eye, by the way, but I won't mention names on here. Look, the best way to deal with these things is your own style, but the best and most effective way, and it's not always possible. Sometimes you can't help yourself, context, danger, etc.
Yeah.
You can't always prepare for those situations. But the best way, and someone laughed at me at a political hustings once when I said that the best way is a bit like the way you train your dog, positive reinforcement. You treat the good behaviour and you try and ignore the bad.
Yeah, good point. Afia Hagan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And Keith Fraser, thank you very much for your time also, and good luck to you and those losers Arsenal.